Number 10. Las Espadas Gemelas de Toledo. This pair is a new set of villains who first appeared in Spider-Woman in issue 11 of the current run that started in 2020. There are two brothers who wield magical swords which seemingly grant them great power, but also kind of possesses them. Spider-Woman goes up against both brothers, Ray and Luis, in issues 11 and 12 and seemingly defeats them both. The brothers end up in a fight against one another, where Luis is forced to cut off Ray's hand as he has become completely ensorcelled under the blade's influence, after he wields them both at the same time. It seems, however, that this isn't the last we've seen of the villains. Ray eventually gets himself a new mechanical sword hand, and both brothers swear to get revenge on Spider-Woman for getting them locked up and pitting them against one another. So while these guys only appeared in a couple issues, we're definitely going to see them again soon. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it where we talk about all of the cool Spidey things, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 9. Trapster. Trapster is one of the members of the all-female Sinister 6 group, Sinister 7 group I guess now, to appear in the Sinister War 4-issue limited series. She is a member of the Sinister Syndicate, which is the name for the all-female team and is led by the Beetle. We don't yet know Trapster's true identity, all we know is that she claims to be the new Trapster and that yes, she spells her version of the supervillain codename without the E, seemingly appearing as the new, younger, and hipper version of the villain. I don't actually know if Trapster is ever a villain who could be made cool, but it seems like this version is at least trying to do that, reclaiming the title and the use of the paste gun with some pride, which you gotta give her points for. Trapster first appeared in the 2017 Free Comic Book Day Secret Empire issue. Number 8. Seiya Ishi. Seiya Ishi is like the new arch nemesis of Silk, who recently made her debut appearance in Silk's newest series starting in 2021. Seiya made her first appearance in issue 1 of the series and is the tech and business savvy daughter of Matsuko Ishii, founder of tech company giant Fujinet, and Silvermane, supervillain and crime lord of New York. Seiya has set out to outdo both of her parents, becoming the new head of Fujinet and also aiming to become an even greater crime lord than her father, or crime lady I guess. In the Silk series she plays antagonist to Cindy Moon and allies herself for a time with the Japanese cat demon Kasha.
Number 7. Gabby Kinney. We included Laura Kinney on the last list, so is it cheating to use her clone? I personally say no, because Gabrielle Kinney, aka Honey Badger and recently Scout, is just awesome. Like a little feisty killing machine with adamantium bone sickles and crazy regenerative healing factor, and that also improves her strength, speed, and stamina. Gabby first appeared in All New Wolverine number 2 in 2015, and she had a long history that, just like her other clone sisters, intertwined a lot with Laura, her genetic sister, and Wolverine, her genetic father. As Honey Badger, Gabby was seemingly a favorite of her sister, and basically became a sidekick to Laura Kinney, joining Jean Grey's X-Men alongside her sister in X-Men Red number 1 in 2018. While Laura went on to become the new Wolverine, Gabby would go on to become Scout, and one of the main Wolverine family members. Oh, also her and Jonathan the Unstoppable, an actual Wolverine, like the animal, shared an immediate bond, and he is basically her pet, which is both really cool and kind of hilarious. Number 6. Gentle. Although Nesno Abidemi, son of a Wakandan woman and a Russian man, first appeared in 2006, he was only a student at the Xavier Institute until he joined the X-Men in 2009's Uncanny X-Men. Because of his father, Gentle was never treated right in Wakanda, even by his own mom, which is a little hypocritical because, you know, she got pregnant with a dude, but whatever. He was raised at the Wakandan royal court and was sent to the Xavier Institute by Aurora Monroe when his powers first manifested. Gentle's mutant ability is muscle mass expansion, which allows him to increase his size and strength almost instantly. He's done battle with a Sentinel, and his strength is said to rival Colossus, with his resting strength increasing every time he uses his powers. Because of his poor treatment though, he suffered from psychological trauma, which caused him to suffer great pain and seizures. To help his condition, Gentle's entire body was covered with vibranium tattoos to prevent him from overexerting, and they essentially keep him alive, with the added side effect of looking sick. Number 5. Oya. When Hope Summers came back from her future travels with Cable, there were 5 mutants whose X gene and abilities activated. These 5 were known as the Lights, and they were the first mutants since the events of M-Day, making them pretty important. Ide Okonkwo was 14 years old, living in Nigeria's Delta State when her mutant powers of thermokinesis activated, causing her to accidentally burn down her village. She was almost taken out by the military until the X-Men showed up to save her. Now, under the direction of Hope, and with the consent of Cyclops, the Lights began training as a rescue team for any other new mutant manifestations. Idea's ability of thermokinesis allows her to alter temperatures around her, with the limitation being that she cannot simply create hot or cold temperatures. She can only rechannel pre-existing temperature, meaning she needs the presence of heat to generate cold, and cold to generate heat, and vice versa. Oya first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 528 in September of 2010. Number 4. Armor. Hisako Ichiki lived in Tokyo, Japan with her brother and parents when her mutant abilities activated, and she joined the Xavier Institute. She first appeared becoming just a student and member of Kitty Pryde's Paladin Squad in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3 in 2004, and would go on to become a member of the New X-Men after participating in Emma Frost's Battle Royale in New X-Men Volume 2 number 23 and 26. But finally, she officially joined the main X-Men team in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3 number 25 in 2008. Hisako's powers are pretty cool. As you might suspect from her name, Armor can generate strong, powerful, durable, and impenetrable psionic exoskeleton armor around her entire physical body that augments her strength, endurance, stamina, agility, invulnerability, and durability. The power of her abilities are greatly tied to her family and bloodline. So, for example, the strength, power, and size of her psionic armor greatly enhances when her relatives pass away. Which, I mean, if she was a villain, that could go south pretty quick. But luckily she's not, so we're good.
Number 3. Octavia Vermis. Within the Spider-Verse, there are of course many different heroes and many different villains. Octavia Vermis was one such villain introduced to us in the newest Spider-Woman series in issue number 2, as a new arch-nemesis for Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman. And although her evil plots were seemingly thwarted in the end, you can likely expect that Octavia will return in the future. She was introduced as the daughter of Otto Vermis, a Hydra commander who Spider-Woman herself killed years ago. Octavia, however, is not looking for revenge for her long-deceased father, however. Instead, she's looking to make herself stronger, make the perfect progeny, and have Spider-Woman kinda rule by her side over an epic criminal empire. Fortunately, Jess has other plans for Octavia, but while Octavia might be defeated for now, you can bet this new badass villain will be back, and whenever she does return, I'm honestly gonna be pretty scared for Jess, cause Octavia was pretty crazy. And probably still will be whenever she returns, and is not a dinosaur anymore. A dino person. Number 2. Kindred. Kindred is both a new villain and an old friend of Spider-Man's. For quite a while in the comics, Kindred's identity remained unknown, and many fans pondered just who Kindred really was, as the villain claimed it had emotional ties to both Peter Parker and Norman Osborn. Kindred first appeared in 2018 in the first issue of the current Amazing Spider-Man series, which of course started off in that same year, and as of the time of this recording is still ongoing. Years later, we would learn that Kindred was apparently none other than Harry Osborn, returned from the dead and now part demon, part tortured soul. However, it also seems that there might be more to Kindred than meets the eye, and perhaps the villain is not only Harry alone, but could have even more identities that have yet to be revealed. If he truly is Harry Osborn, who knows? Number 1. Venom. Dylan Brock is the son of Eddie Brock and Anne Wang, Eddie's deceased ex-wife, and is now a huge player when it comes to the world of Spider-Man and Venom, and just the Marvel Universe in general. Dylan initially seemed to have a powerful influence over symbiotes, but lost these powers following the defeat of Null in the King in Black event. However, he recently has taken up his father's mantle, becoming the new Venom in the comics, after his father Eddie basically retired from vigilante life to take Null's place, becoming the god of symbiotes. And if you're wondering if Eddie's cool with it, apparently Eddie is cool with it, so it's all good. Venom had to bond with Dylan to save his life, and so now we got a new Venom. I'm into it.
Number 10. Techon. In this 2021 storyline, the Red Skull comes into a new power that removes the powers of other heroes. Tony Stark uses his technology to create the Iron Avengers. Captain America, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and obviously Iron Man, basically the most popular Avengers, all get Iron Man-like mech suits that they can use to fight against similarly meched up villains. The whole thing was basically a partnership with Bandai Namco to create Avenger-themed mech toys. So it has no numerical Earth number. But who cares? The art is sweet, the idea is original, and the toys are kinda cool. Number 9. Earth 1048. The reality of Earth 1048 is actually the reality seen in the Marvel Spider-Man game that came out on PlayStation, plus its associated comics and novels. Seeing as this game is highly beloved by many Spider-Man fans, including myself, I thought it deserved a mention. The universe first appeared in the Marvel Spider-Man Hostile Takeover novel on August 21st, 2018, which served as a prequel for the events of the game. In case it wasn't clear, this is also the universe featured in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, and will be the same world in the next entry to the series, Marvel Spider-Man 2. All the games so far have had fantastic open world versions of Manhattan, some of the best web swinging in a video game so far, tons of alternate reality and original spider suits, and are all really fun. Number 8. Earth 8. First appearing in Spider-Man Volume 2 number 14 in 2017, Earth 8 is a pretty great place. Essentially, it's a possible future of the reality of Earth 65. A utopia where Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy got married and were part of a team called the Amazing Eight, whose members included Spider-Boy and Spider-Girl, Miles and Gwen's kids, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker and her Spider-Mech, Jerry Drew Spider-Man, and an unnamed Spider-Woman that resembled Kraven the Hunter. The Spider-Gwen of Earth 65 came to Earth 8 to ask for the Amazing Eight's help to fight Silk in her reality. Unfortunately, Miles and Gwen were on their second honeymoon, so she only got the Amazing 6 out of 8, but that was enough it seems.
Number 7. Electro. No, not that Electro, not Max Dillon. Instead, we are talking about his accomplice turned supervillain herself, Francine Fry. Francine was obsessed with supervillains and ended up becoming the partner in crime and potential partner in romance of Max's. Back when Max's powers were on the fritz and extremely unpredictable, she kissed him and as a result was electrified, seemingly to death. However, the Jackal would bring her back as a clone. When the attempt was made to restore Max's at the time currently lost powers, something went awry with the procedure and instead it was Francine who ended up superpowered. With her new powers, she herself also became known as Electro. Francine made her first appearance in the 2014 Amazing Spider-Man series in issue number 2. Number 6. Hyperion. While Hyperion has existed for a long time as a member of the Squadron Supreme, we just recently got a seemingly alternate version of him who showed up in Heroes Reborn, which was intended to greatly affect the future of Marvel's main continuity. This alternate version of Mark Milton is currently designated to the reality given the temporary, non-official number of 852. In this reality, Marcus was not just one of the Earth's primary superheroes and leader of the Squadron Supreme, but also found a friend in non-powered Daily Bugle photographer Peter Parker, who appeared similar to DC's character Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal. Although as we saw from Peter's perspective, he didn't quite feel the same way about his relationship with superhero Hyperion. He was like, Hyperion's a jerk, and Hyperion was like, he's my best buddy. Oh dear. Time will tell if this alternate version of Hyperion will return and perhaps even play a role in the future of Spider-Man, as at the end of Heroes Reborn, in the aftermath shown in Heroes Return, we learned that Hyperion misses the alternate Peter Parker and their alternate reality friendship. Aww. This alternate version of Hyperion made his first appearance in the 2021 Heroes Reborn series in issue number 1. Not to be confused with the other Heroes Reborn series. Just to be clear. Number 5. The Sinister Syndicate. The Syndicate might not be a new single character, but it is a new group of characters that were brought together in the comics. We've already talked about newer characters who are also members of the team, including Francine Fry's Electro and the new Trapster, Hold the E, but the group itself was actually founded by Beetle, making its first appearance in the current run of Spider-Man way back in issue 25. The team is now one of the main competitors in the Sinister War story, despite the fact that they're not actually a Sinister 6 team, they're kind of like a Sinister 7, but it's alright because they're the Sinister Syndicate, so they can still be 7 and be the Syndicate. Currently the team features Electro, Scorpia, Trapster, White Rabbit, Anna's Kraven the Hunter, and Lady Octopus. Number 4. Demogoblin. Demogoblin is the new name taken up by the former Demogoblin. She came to be a sort of reinvented version of that character during the Absolute Carnage event, making her first appearance under this name in issue 1 of Absolute Carnage Lethal Protectors. And while the Venomverse has gone on to become kind of its own thing, it also remains ever intertwined in the Spider-Verse besides. After all, even in Absolute Carnage, Spider-Man was also a main player, as he was one of the few people Eddie Brock trusted during their fight against Carnage and the Cult of Null, aka the Church of the New Darkness, as they were known. Demogoblin was created when Cletus Cassidy as Carnage sacrificed his love Shriek, claiming the codex located in her spine and also using her death and body to resurrect Demogoblin, hence Demogoblin, who is also really feeling that Carnage love, so yay, I guess. For people that I guess shipped Shriek and Carnage and are like, no more Shriek. It's alright, you have Demogoblin, basically it's Shriek, but it's also Demogoblin, but as a lady. Comics. It's confusing sometimes, isn't it?
Number 3. Earth TRN 852, Heroes Reborn. When Phil Coulson sold his soul to Mephisto in the 2021 event Heroes Reborn, he was given an object called the Pandemonium Cube, which he used to warp reality, creating the alternate world of TRN 852. Here, the Avengers were never assembled, instead replaced by the Squadron Supreme of America, which consisted of the heroes Hyperion, Nighthawk, Power Princess, Blur, Dr. Spectrum, and Skymax. Tony Stark never created the Iron Man armor, Carol Danvers never became a hero, Captain America remained a capsicle, and the Hulk was banished to the negative zone. After the Earth 616 version of Blade ended up on this Earth, he began assembling the Avengers again, starting with Captain Popsicle. Number 2. Earth 001, Home of the Inheritors. First appearing in Superior Spider-Man number 33 in September 2014, Earth 001, or Loom World, is home to the Inheritors, who are a clan of very strong beings who hunt and feed upon the life force of animal totems, specifically spider totems, meaning all the Spider-Man and women of the Marvel multiverse. Loom World is also the home to the Master Weaver and the Web of Life and Destiny, which is basically a model of the entire universe and allows for travel to different realities. The Web of Life and Destiny and the Master Weaver were captured by the Inheritor family, who used it to hunt various Spider-Men. The event this takes place in is an awesome one, and if you get the chance, I highly suggest that you give it a read. Number 1. Earth 15513, There Was Nothing, followed by everything. Swirling, burning specks of creation that circled life-giving suns. God, Doom, created the light. Then there was Earth. The firmament cooled and he raised up a land, this holy land, the world, and upon it he set his kingdoms. Earth 15513, also known formerly as Battle World, and more recently as Battle Realm, is where God Emperor Doom created his new world using the power of the Beyonders after the destruction of the multiverse in the 2015 Secret Wars event. After the final battle between God Emperor Doom and Mr. Fantastic, Battleworld was destroyed and became the center of the new multiverse. Coming in at number 10, it's Pickles. I think his name alone just made me want to include him on this list. Pickles is what is known as a Bamf, a race of demons who are basically little Nightcrawler-like imps, who possess similar attributes and powers as Nightcrawler and Azazel. Pickles himself lived inside Beast's van and was a backup in case anyone needed immediate transport somewhere. But he would later travel with Jean Grey and the X-Men in Jean Grey number 1 from 2017. As a Bamf, Pickles can teleport by displacing himself into the Brimstone dimension, travel through it, and then return to the original dimension at a certain distance from the point of departure. But unlike Nightcrawler, Pickles doesn't require foreknowledge of his destination in order to safely teleport there. But much like Nightcrawler, Pickles can stick to objects with the surface of his hands and feet, and he's got a sweet little prehensile tail. This little imp also possesses an unknown degree of muscle memory mimicry, which enables him to quickly learn and perform new martial arts with little instruction or training. He's definitely one of those few minor X-Men characters, but he's just so cute. Number 9. Gazing Nightshade. First appearing in X-Men Blue number 6 in June of 2017, the Madripoor mutant calling herself Gazing Nightshade was part of a ruthless mutant vigilante group who were inspired by Wolverine called the Raksha. The group was stopped by Jimmy Hudson and the X-Men and eventually were invited to the X-Mansion. Gazing Nightshade has the really cool mutant ability of despair inducement, meaning whoever Nightshade gazes upon enters into a trance-like state of sorrow, fueled by their deepest regrets. And to make it just 10 times more metal, both the eyes of Gazing Nightshade's victims and her own eyes bleed when she uses her powers. tell me that's not the coolest thing. She joins Polaris' makeshift roster of X-Men in X-Men Blue number 25 in 2018 before going back to the Rock Show. Number 8. Trinary. Shilpa Khatri first showed up in 2018's X-Men Red number 1 as a new mutant joining Jean Grey's team of X-Men. Shilpa was a young mutant from India who developed technopathic mutant abilities, and first used them to top up the bank accounts of every working Indian woman using the money from 25 of the biggest earning CEOs in India. That's pretty cool. And while I think that's awesome and kind of hilarious, her father did not, and he reported his own daughter to the Indian Mutant Defense Force, which is where Jean Grey and her team rescued Trinary from. As a technopath, she has the ability to psychically control all forms of technology, such as computers, cell phones, and all that junk. Her limitation at this time is that she can only control technology that is in her line of sight, and her range is currently undetermined, but judging from other technopaths, she has potential to get much stronger. It just remains to be seen. Number 7. Earth 2319. Appearing in the New Avengers Volume 3 number 14 in 2014, Earth 2319 is one of the Earths that dealt with the incursions. This Earth had gone through a fourth age of apocalypse, which resulted in the collapse of the Phoenix Eggs, which in turn led to Magneto forming the floating twin cities of Tian, where mutants would be safe. The floating cities ended up being the point of an incursion witnessed by the 616 Mr. Fantastic. An Illuminati team was formed on the Earth that consisted of Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Doom, Black Panther, Yellow Jacket, both Captain Britons, Betsy Braddock and Brian Braddock, Iron Man, and Emma Frost. It was basically used as an example of what the Sidera Maris, which are an army of robots created by the mapmakers, could do after they invaded from the incursing Earth, resulting in the eventual destruction of Earth 2319. Number 6. Darkhold Universes. Earth 21129, Earth 42222, Earth 52433, Earth 64211, and Earth 37640. Now, this one point is actually going to cover multiple different alternate Earths in one, because they are all part of the same event. The Darkhold is basically a codex written on flesh by the elder god Chthon of all his evil works and spells. There is a stone transcription and a series of scrolls that act as the same thing. But when the true Darkhold was found by Victorious and Doctor Doom, it opened a pathway between the other world and our world, and awoke Chthon in preparation for the coming conflict and to temper them with madness, which is just the dumbest idea I've ever heard of. Victorious and Scarlet Witch had Iron Man, Blade, Wasp, Black Bolt, and Spider-Man all read from the book. The problem was they read too far, were corrupted, and saw horror story versions of their lives, resulting in 5 alternate realities and 5 2021 stories you need to read. Number 5. Earth TRN 891, Dark Ages. In the alternate Earth TRN 891, after a battle with an ancient, powerful, galaxy-attacking robot that was trapped inside the Earth billions of years ago called the Unmaker, Doctor Strange opened a portal to create an EMP that would defeat the Unmaker. This worked, but Strange died before he could close the portal. This resulted in a huge EMP that shut off all electricity on Earth. This led to various wars in the post-apocalypse, killing billions of people. Eventually, things calmed down and people lived in various different communities, surviving against attacks from vampires and werewolves. In Europe, however, the mutant apocalypse had taken over, and using brainwashed geniuses from around the world, began attempting to reawaken the Unmaker for his own villainous deeds. Number 4. Bloodline. In the J.J. and Henry Abrams written storyline from 2019, Mary Jane Watson is killed by a villain known as Cadaverous after Spider-Man is swarmed and beaten pretty badly by his minions. 12 years later, the story has a one-armed version of Peter Parker, who is now the honestly pretty bad single father of Ben Parker, Peter and Mary Jane's son. After Cadaverous returns out of hiding and kidnaps Peter to use his blood for his evil plans, it is up to the new Spider-Man, Ben Parker, with the help of his friend Faye Ito, and old Tony Stark and Riri Williams to fight Cadaverous and his minions, which includes a cyber-zombified team of Avengers. Look guys, in this reality, YouTube has this algorithm thing, right? And when you like and subscribe to us, it signals to the YouTube overlords that we are worthy of being seen by all you lovely people and new people, helping us grow and continue to pump out videos like this one. So I just want to say thanks for doing that for us. We appreciate every like and subscribe you drop. Okay, on to the top 3. Number 3, Bloodstorm. This is probably a bit of a spicy choice for this list. Bloodstorm is none other than Aurora Monroe, only she is from a different universe. Earth 21710 to be specific. This version of Aurora was a thief living in the streets of Egypt when she attempted to pickpocket a man who turned out to be Dracula. She was turned into a vampire and eventually managed to free herself from Dracula's control and find new purpose among the X-Men. Unfortunately for her though, her thirst for blood overpowered her, which resulted in her ending at least both Beast and Professor X, but it could have been more. She was recruited by the Goblin Queen of Earth 91240 as one of her Hexmen, and they invaded Earth 616, where Bloodstorm decided to switch sides and help the time-displaced X-Men Blue team. She was eventually recruited to the team by Cyclops. Now this is obviously Aurora Monroe, and even if she is from another universe, she is still extremely powerful. But on top of that, she has all the powers of vampirism, including being capable of transforming her body into mist and a flock of bats, and using her gaze to hypnotize people into doing her bidding. Number 2, Genesis. Honestly, don't know how y'all are gonna feel about this one. Evan Sabanur was created by Phantom X as a clone of Apocalypse, and as such has a lot of his powers, including superhuman strength, superhuman durability, and self-molecular manipulation, meaning Evan has total control over the molecular structure of his own body, enabling him to alter his form at will. He is able to transform his limbs into various weapons and equipment such as blades and bludgeons for combat, or rocket boots for flight, as well as being able to alter his body to change in size. Evan also has a healing factor that can regenerate from serious injury like getting gashed by Dakon's claws. And he can adapt his body to any disease or environment at will and sometimes subconsciously. Another small, innocent ability Evan has is the potential for virtually any conceivable superhuman power ever. He once showcased fire or plasma breath when fighting Faithful John's mind drones, and also has a degree of energy projection, able to project dematerializer blasts from his eyes and emit energy blasts from his hands. He first appeared in Uncanny X-Force number 7 in 2011, but wasn't on the X-Men team until 2014, and even then, kind of as a student. As the clone of Apocalypse, Evan will potentially develop any of the powers possessed by him, but it also means people do fear him, which leaves him with a bit of an insecurity. And number 1, Darwin. Even somewhat casual fans of the X-Men know who Darwin is, if only because he was that guy who is supposed to be able to adapt to anything but gets de-lifed in like 2 seconds in the X-Men First Class movie. People were mad. And honestly, yeah, so was I. That makes no sense. Adapt to this, shut up. He literally could have. Armando Munoz, or Darwin, was first introduced in X-Men Deadly Genesis number 2 in December of 2005, and he would join the X-Men shortly after that. Darwin's powers are just the coolest. He's able to adapt to any situation, so basically, using his powers, he's been able to grow functioning gills after being submerged in water, gain night vision after being in the dark for several seconds, be able to survive without oxygen when in space, his skin has become fireproof when it's exposed to flames, and after touching Hela, Darwin became a death deity and gained powers similar to Hela, including immortality, Asgardian physiology, and control over life and death. There was even a time his intelligence increased itself to understand the Shi'ar language by looking at it in written form. Although sometimes his powers do not always take the effect he wants, like, for example, during his fight with the Hulk, his body teleported him away from the battle rather than supplying a power that would actually allow him to defeat the Hulk, which is kind of hilarious to be honest.